welcome to the video. This is a video my flight in April of 2026 from Old Park Farm here in South Wales, across the country, right across the Midlands, out of South Wales. As you can see, the track goes north of Gloucester, stopping at Croft Farm just over the M5, passing south of Wellesbourne Mountford, and then turning, passing north of Daventry, and finally ending up near Corby at Deenethorpe, which is just there, just south of RAF Wittering. Right, so let's get going. Here we are starting off at Old Park Farm. Had a camera in a new position which didn't work really well. I had it attached to the front of my cap, but unfortunately with the head movement it gets a lot of jumping around. So waving goodbye to Di at Old Park Farm. As you can see, a beautiful sunny day, lining up on the south runway, runway 18, for departure. And full power going in. A rolling start. Lifting off. Speed builds very quickly. So get rid of the flaps and climbing out towards the south. See the Bristol Channel there to the south, and there's a view of Old Park Farm as I was leaving. And just zoom in a bit, you see the runways looking fantastic, all been cut, and that's the view as we head out. Now this is almost coming to the end of the valleys, and the lower land is further ahead. So doing cruising about 70, keeping a good eye out for traffic. Very clear, fantastic visibility. Over to the left, there is a paragliding competition near Abergavenny. To the south, there's Newport and the River Severn and the Usk running down. There's Abergavenny town. The paragliders were on the left, but there wasn't really anything doing. That's looking up the valley towards Abergavenny town, and just below the word airfield is the airfield next to that dual carriageway. So we carried on past, there's the River Severn coming now towards Gloucester, and there's another paragliding competition at Great Malvern, or just south of Great Malvern. There's the Great Malvern Hills stretching up north-south, but there didn't seem to be much activity. There's hardly any wind all day. So that's the route we're taking here towards Croft Farm, crossing over the River Severn, and then we're going to be passing the services at of the M5 next. It's just coming up. You can see amazing visibility on this day. Again, with this camera attached to my hat, didn't really work. There's a motorway services on the northbound lane, and just looking for the airfield, which is in about 10 o'clock position there, middle of the screen more or less now. So approaching from the south, one aircraft had just landed on the easterly runway. There was no wind, so I decided to follow suit and came round. So let's just speed this up a little bit. Over the river, joining a downwind here. So the airfield is on the right there, just past that village. Trying to avoid all the villages, coming round, descending. And there's Deptford disused in a moment. It's all calmed down a bit. Come round, there's Deptford disused, runway ahead on the left there. We're coming round, and the runway is now coming into our 1 o'clock position. So it is a grass runway, beautiful airstrip. To the right there you can see Breedon Hill. Slowing it right down. You can go the flaps to help us slow down even more. Steely-eyed pilot there concentrating. Just coming over the hedge, off the power, and touchdown. See, the grass runway, lovely and smooth, beautiful. There's a big Piper on huge Alaska tyres. Just rolled past the parking space, so I have to do a turn round. See the Malvern Hills still in the distance there. It came, I know this is a taxiway, just stopped here to get out and then manhandled the aircraft to park it just the other side of that fence. So that was about 85 miles and taken just about the hour. But the marvellous thing with Croft is it's almost exactly halfway between Deenethorpe and Old Park Farm, so it's a lovely place to have a break. This was about 1 o'clock in the afternoon, which was lunchtime, which was really handy. See the tint in the thing. So there it is, there I've parked up, nice and safe, out of everybody's way. Lashings and lashings of ginger beer, looking out on Breeden Hill, and a nice tuna salad sandwich. And I made a bit of a mess on the takeoff. Forgot to switch the camera on, back over the motorway services, turned left. Sorry about the shaky camera work. Then over Easham. And then further on, that's Honeybourne Airfield. And a bit further on, passing over this restricted zone. Now, it's only for helicopters, so obviously it doesn't apply to me. And that is because there is Long Larton high security prison there. Having a good view of everybody's little villages, a nice swimming pool there. Then Gaydon. In the 1950s, Vickers Valiant's first operated from here. It's now home of the British Motor Museum. There's Braunston on the Grand Union Canal. Past some fantastic stately homes. And of course then the Scar, which is high-speed 2 rail track being built. Looking south and north. There's Wellesbourne Mountford. Just passing south of that. Disused just before we get towards Corby. And here we are approaching Deenethorpe. So we can see there that got a few miles to run, about 5 miles left to run, and here's the view that we have from the cockpit. This now is about 5 o'clock in the afternoon. That's the reason I'm going there. The Microlight Open series, just to watch it, not take part. So keeping well to the on track to avoid the glider site, which is off the right wingtip there. At the end of the day, the gliders tend not to be flying. The heat has gone out of the day. So looking ahead and see the wooded area there, just speed this up a little bit. And we're looking for the runway. Deenethorpe runway is massive. It was used by the United States Army Air Corps, and there is it. It's coming up here somewhere, I'm sure of it. Right, there we are. There's a massive, great long runway. And just on the dead side, there's a right-hand circuit on that runway. That runway is 04. So just looking down by the, just, I don't know if you make it out on the film, there is a windsock there. There's the buildings and what have you that remain at Deenethorpe. So came in over 2,000 feet. Nobody was on the radio. Nobody else was flying at that moment in time. But I descended dead side. So here we go. Coming back on the power, descending down to get to circuit height, which is 1,000 feet above the runway, and then, as I say, a right-hand circuit. So here we go. Come back on the power. Let the nose drop, and down we go. Come round, looking back towards Corby, where we've just overflown. Coming, you can see the rate of descent is about 500, 600 feet a minute down. Coming back. still wanting to remain on what they call the dead side. The other side is the active with this circuit. Not just because there's nobody on the radio didn't mean there wasn't anybody around. There we are. Another 500 feet to go. Level out. See towards like the end of the runway, still descending. And then I can turn right over the numbers at the far end of 04. Just looking to see the numbers on the runway about halfway down here. It's not all in use. So here we are, wing going down, turning round and joining on the crosswind leg of the circuit. The rape fields there are fantastic yellow. Looking right down the runway. Let's go around this farmhouse here, or whatever it is in the middle. So now we're in the downwind leg. Reporting the positions on the radio, just in case there's anybody listening and what have you. Or any other aircraft. Thumb going there, just trimming the nose up, so slow the aircraft down. Keeping a good look out, make sure nobody is joining onto the base leg. Over the perimeter track, over the local road, and turning right onto base leg for runway 04. Round we come. Just keeping this until I get the center line. Still slowly descending all the time. And there we are, more or less onto the centre line. Shadow racing across the field there. It's quite late in the day, I think it's about 5 o'clock. Lined up with the runway. You just see the windsock on the right, just by those hangars. Hardly any wind at all. And touchdown and arrival at Deenethorpe. There's the start of the runway, was a little bit early. Oh dear, what a pity, never mind. So swing round and backtrack. One of the things I didn't really want to go too far. So the steering is on the brakes. There isn't any nose wheel steering, so you just have to use the brakes on the main wheels to make the castering nose wheel turn round. So you do have to be moving to steer. There we go. I mean, you can stand on one brake on tarmac and lock it up and almost turn on one wheel, but you're scrubbing the tyre, so you tend to avoid doing that. And that's where I was parked up for the night. And this is the competition. This was a spot landing competition. They had to come overhead at 1,000 feet, just like I had done on the circuit there. Put the engine to throttle and then try and land within this box. And he's done very well there on that. This next one, a bit lighter, and you can see from that gentleman's t-shirt there flapping. Lighter ones, this wind just got up out of nowhere and they couldn't force their way into it, couldn't penetrate into it, so he had landed short. No points for him. A bit heavier aircraft, a bit more speed, and lovely job. And he had actually dead stick, he stopped his engine totally. And this one, those with two on board and a little bit of extra weight forced their way into the wind. But he landed just short, just shame. This one he's turning again, and when they're taken off there's hardly any wind, so they're kind of coming back to this quite strong wind that just sprung up, caught a few people out. again, this gentleman, a very light aircraft, and he just couldn't force his way into the wind, and he touched down before. You see, it's a very light single-man aircraft. That's where I was camping for the night, under my wing. In the morning, everything was covered in dew, and there was some low cloud which delayed the start. But 11 o'clock, as you can see, it burnt off, and I was ready to set off. Except I taxied up to these cones and realised there was a bit of rough ground between them, which I couldn't taxi over. I couldn't steer because I have to be moving, and that slopes down. So I thought, right, I'll get out and move the nose round with the engine running. So that's what I did. But inadvertently there, I managed to kick one of the fuses on the dash. And so I moved round. You see, I just decided to move the whole aircraft round. The engine's still running, but I've got hold of it. And had to resolve the problem. I didn't realise I'd knocked the fuse and had to reset it. So it's a second attempt, and off we go on this one. So canopy closed again. Gentleman over there was heading back to Northern Ireland in the yellow trike, and so somebody else here was having a late night, late lie-in. So finally got moving. Now it's 160 odd miles home, and I decided to do it in a wanna. I was able to get some fuel here at Deenethorpe very kindly. Somebody had a jerry can of fuel, which I was able to buy off them, which was very kind of them. So heading down the perimeter track, speed this up a little bit just so we don't get too bored. Lining up, going to take off on runway 04. So, and once we're lined up, full power. There we go. And the weight off the nose wheel just skipping along now, just on the mains, waiting to lift off. There we go, lifting off, flying off the ground at angle, and there's shadow staying on the ground. So as we climb away, you see the massive length of the runway, shadow tracking right down it. So just wait until we get past the houses and turn right into the circuit, because I literally want to be going the opposite direction to what I'm travelling at the moment. With this very wide angled lens, it does make it seem a bit strange. There's the other end of the runway 22, past the farm, and around we go. Then we start heading back, following exactly the same route as we came. And although it was sunny here, there was some high cloud a bit further on. Round we came, keeping it nice and tight because I don't want to go towards the glider site, which is just to the south there. Corby Town, just above the canopy there. There we are, climbing up out of the circuit in that direction. A little bit of housekeeping going on in the cockpit. I say it's surprisingly bright here, but it did cloud over. And first thing went over is the the M1 motorway first, then HS2, and this is where they've dug out, and you can see they're now filling in that tunnel. Funny how most people want the same bit of sky. That was the warning I got, and that's what it looked like out the cockpit. So flying along, it was absolutely smooth as silk. As you can see, I didn't have my hand on the stick. Just to emphasize there, just a touch, finger touch. Literally nothing nothing to do, just sit there and enjoy the view. This is where we're coming over to Cotswolds, in the area of Long Martin again, just about 2,500 feet, 2627, and the view to the south over the Cotswolds, a little bit hazy. The glider was being towed up, and obviously there's going to be no lift because there's no disturbance in the air at all at this time. The rape field's really standing out, and here's one happy chappy saying, there we are, look at this, can fly hands off. So continue on back over the River Severn was the next feature. And after the River Severn, and having such a smooth flight for the hour up to that point, you can see the Forest of Dean there, and the wind coming over the hills, and the sun was getting a bit more active on the hills there. It suddenly became quite rough, which kind of woke you up a bit, like as you can see there, the wing dipping up and down. There's the River Wye wending its way down, coming round towards Monmouth. We're just passing just north of Monmouth at this point, and looking forward, you can see nearly all the way home. Just to the very left of the screen you can see the Severn estuary, but let's see, there's that bend in the river, town of Monmouth on the right, and we're feeling that we're almost getting back onto home ground now. There's the whole town of Monmouth. You can see in the very distance the Severn estuary just panning out a bit. So up to this has always been a very pleasant flight. It did take 2 hours 5 minutes to get all the way home. Started to come over the higher ground of the Welsh valleys. Again, the turbulence did continue, but it gave me something to do anyway. In the distance you can start to see the Severn estuary over one of the last valleys before we pass over the windmills, and then down to the coastal plain where Old Park is. Valley's looking very different now with all the coal mining gone. A lot of greenery in amongst the whole town. Coming round, looking up down the course here, you can see the windmills and old mine workings down there on the right. In the distance you can see Swansea Bay just coming into view, which is home ground. So speed this up a bit. Windmills haven't suddenly got energized. Passing over them. Something sort of mesmerizing by watching them slowly turning round. Of course, they're also a good wind indicator, just telling me they're more or less on the beam. And here we are coming up to Old Park Farm, joining overhead at 2,000 feet. Just under the nose wheel is the farm, and just looking down, here we are from the cockpit, just trying to see the windsock. Looking at the windmills, we're going to land on runway 12. So we're going to go round the reservoir in a right-hand circuit, and then land on runway 12. So announce my intentions, and there's nobody else flying at that time. So let's speed this up. Round we go, over the M4 motorway, past that windmill, yeah, definitely blowing from the east. Round the reservoir, coming in, over the sailing club, crematorium on the left, and coming back to cross back over the M4 and back to normal speed now. So coming here about 900 feet above sea level, 700 feet over the ground. And what we have to do, you see to the left there, Margam Park, up on the hillside. Margam Park. That's the estate we avoid overflying, so we kind of do a dogleg on the final. So that's why we're going over the fields. Right on the nose is the actual farm of Old Park Farm, and we're looking to go down the middle of that field, which is just right on the nose at the moment. Round we come, losing height steadily, just seeing how much turbulence there is, keeping up a good speed so I can deal with any turbulence. And here we are, lined up now, getting straight with runway 12. Not putting any flaps in, just so I can control the plane a bit more. This is an uphill runway, so it's nice to land on. As soon as you're down, all your speed is taken out of you, so no need for brakes or anything. And because it's quite narrow, they've now kindly cut a turning circle up at the end here, so we come up to the end of the runway and can go to the left, and it just does mean that they're easier to turn. There's nothing's more embarrassing than not making the turn and coming off the side and having to stop and move the nose again. Right, fast forward back to the hangar. Almost at the end. Thank you so much for watching all the way to the end. Really do appreciate it. If you found it interesting, please give a like or a comment. Love to hear those. And there's some other videos that'll come back up on the screen that you might be interested in watching if you've enjoyed this. So thanks again for watching. There we go. Goodbye. Thanks again.